What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, and it's Top 10 Thursday. You know what's funny? Sometimes what's most popular isn't always what's best. The games that are the most fun to play can sometimes still not sell great that end up going out of business, which is a real shame. Today, I want to kind of honor the game series that in my opinion are phenomenal, but for some reason totally went out of business. These are my picks for the top 10 dead game series we need back. Number 10. Dino Crisis. Throughout all the years of survival horror being around, we've seen heroes fight off zombies, freakish Silent Hill nurses, and everything else you can imagine, but only Dino Crisis managed to make us truly afraid of prehistoric monsters. It did this by making it all seem so possible, blending together real-world science and weapons with some very deadly creatures like the T-Rex. I'll be the first to admit that the first two games in this trilogy are great, but they definitely screwed up Dino Crisis 3 by taking it to space. It really kinda lost that grounded terror. Capcom should really try and do a prequel or something on modern consoles. I'd love to see all these experiments and how they went wrong in the first place. Show us the long path that created these scaly beasts. Let us go back to this ancient world of fear once again. Number 9. Onimusha. When I was very young, I was fascinated by the samurai and their code of life. They existed by a strict set of rules called the Bushido that had lessons like, be faithful to those that stand behind you till the end, and never draw your sword unless you mean to use it. Onimusha takes these elements of hardcore training and self-discipline and places them in our character, which is a good thing, or else he wouldn't last 10 minutes in this bloody land. Each of the games in this franchise take us to different settings, but the basic premise is always the same. Demons are slipping into our reality, and it's our job to chop them up and steal their souls. If they were able to get a sequel out for this relatively soon, I think it would be the perfect time. We're badly lacking some sweet action slashers lately other than Bayonetta. I think gamers deserve at least one more epic Japanese adventure. Number 8. Turok. Looking back, this cheesy series was very groundbreaking for 3D shooters. The graphics weren't fantastic and the enemies weren't exceptionally smart, but there was something amazing about it. The way that levels were so expansive and the pure thrill of hunting baddies with explosive bows, it was legendary, and yet, sadly, it's been left in the past. While they did try and give this Native American protagonist a grand return on the Xbox 360, it was a really trash reboot. What we really need is to see Turok taken back to its core, the aspects that worked best. Traveling through portals, sniping strange creatures, and using bizarre super guns was what made this game sell millions of copies, so just make that. Personally, I'm also really eager to see that silly multiplayer come back. Give us a versus mode where I can play as a velociraptor and I can die happy. Number 7. Splinter Cell. Just for fun, I'm gonna put on my dramatic voice for a second here. Sam Fisher is a top secret agent of the government who's sent in alone to handle the most difficult of tasks. Whether it be evil warlords, hackers with bombs, or just spying inside a base that's heavily guarded, nothing is too hard for him. There's a subtle art to making a great stealth project, and the team behind this are just the kings of it. There is so much variety to the areas we get to visit, from tiny alleyways in far-off nations to breaking into the CIA. Part of the entertainment value of Splinter Cell is that the story and gameplay lends itself so wonderfully to any situation. More than anything, I suppose the reason I'm craving to see Sam Fisher in battle again is because the real world is in such a state of chaos. It would be epic to watch our clever connoisseur of cuts get out his knife for a fresh chance to carve out his place in gaming. Number 6. Fatal Frame. Imagine you're trapped and alone in an abandoned village miles from anyone who could help you. Rumors say that this old set of houses is haunted, and normally you'd never come here to find out, but your twin sister has gotten lost, so now we must search these ruins for her. It appears as if everyone who once lived here died in a single night while trying to perform a secret ritual that would seal shut the gates of hell, and now their souls are stuck. The only way to fight off these tragically cursed souls is with a magic camera. Okay, so this is really just the main plot of Fatal Frame 2 specifically, but all of them are so good I could tell you about them and we'd start fanboying. That's the thing about these games, is that they work so well on their own or part of the series. Fatal Frame instills a sense of paranoia and raw fear because you just get trapped in these super small places with the undead, and they can literally walk through walls to grab you. Number 5. MechAssault. People really seem to enjoy hating on Microsoft lately. Now, clearly they haven't exactly been coming out with the biggest lineup of games, but I still feel like they have a real opportunity to make up for that. On the original Xbox, by far my favorite game to play through repeatedly was MechAssault. Sliding into the pilot's seat of a robot and wreaking utter destruction was magnificent, but the key thing that made these so freaking perfect in my opinion is that they were so simple. There really weren't that many controls, and maps were relatively narrow, which made it where you could really focus on your objectives. And trust me, you'll need to focus, since getting killed is always just one big laser blast away. I think Microsoft needs to revive this series, but I want to just note that it's very vital that they stick with this more fun arcade feel to it. So many large budget projects get overly held down by realism and extremely accurate physics, when this game could be just as fast and fluid as it's always been, and fans would eat it up. Number 4. Mega Man Legends. In recent months, we finally got news that the Blue Bomber himself is coming back, and yet in a slightly more retro style. Mega Man 11 was announced and shown to be a classic side-scrolling shooter, which is awesome, but it also makes me badly want a new Legends game. For those who never tried Mega Man Legends, they are insanely cool because they were like RPG shooters. The goal here isn't your typical defeat the Mavericks mission, but rather a bit more like an open world adventure. The goal is to run around this huge island looking for treasure and avoiding these pirates. The lock-on system for aiming and quick strafing mechanics always intrigued me because it makes me think that this is how I actually think Mega Man would move. With a tiny bit of modernization and some obviously updated graphics, Legends could quickly get back into the mainstream. Soon we'll see everyone defeating monsters, getting upgrade parts, and diving into dungeons, ready to spend hundreds of hours crushing that next big boss. Number 3. Left 4 Dead. Honestly, I'm the type of person who thinks everything is better with a friend, whether it be doing charity work, eating dinner, or just battling armies of zombies. Left 4 Dead was a massive breakout hit the moment it came out due to its addictive nature of randomized insanity and all the great teamwork. Every time you go into a match, the items you're searching for and the creatures trying to block your path are generated randomly for that single playthrough. On the surface, this seems like a rather basic system, but it lends itself well to create a dire sense of panic to your travels through these monster-filled towns. In 2018, it seems like Valve has unfortunately left a majority of their game development behind to center their work more on just running Steam, but I think that they could really just take a break and cash in on making one more Left 4 Dead. There's still so much possibility for a final entry of this series. Just so many tiny things, like make it where we can actually face off against crazy new mutants, have larger areas, and maybe some sort of special modes with different party sizes. I would love to go through a specially designed version of all these horrible death traps with only one buddy to back me up and keep me safe. Number 2. Grandia. To this day, I fully believe that the greatest RPG combat ever was in this franchise. Typically in turn-based fighting, you can feel removed from the action since you're really just waiting for an opening to try and attack. Grandia came up with the brilliant idea of interrupts though, and it revolutionized the genre. This gave players the ability to actively try and stop their foes from casting spells, healing, or sometimes even getting in a basic punch. Giving that much power to the player was so smart, and it's the reason I got so invested in the series. After beating the first 2 games, I had to find the rest, and I went so far as to actually importing a translated version of the Japanese exclusive Parallel Trippers. What kept me coming back to Grandia over all these years is that the core combat stays the same while the universe itself constantly keeps changing vibes. It's such a flawless shift to making it where any story, any setting, any plot, any characters feel so at home in this world. Number 1. Spyro the Dragon. This entry to me personally seems so obvious. I mean, I had to put it at number 1. At this point, Sony is reviving so many of their old school games like Medieval and Crash Bandicoot. They clearly have a deep love for games that made them famous in the first place, and there's probably no name that's pushed them higher faster than Spyro himself. This cute little purple guy has gone on so many quests to try and save his family and revive crystals and just kind of do whatever he could. Now, what's really important here is I want a full-blown new game, not just a remaster. At this point, we have seen some great stuff, especially with that Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy, but I think that where this game could truly shine is if it got that next-gen treatment. Bring Spyro to the current year. Make some of that bright, colorful, beautiful environments exist on current hardware. Now, I do want to say it's very, very important that you don't turn this dark and gritty. We don't want this to be Gears of Dragon. Don't make this all freaking warlike. I'm saying that we want the nice, happy Spyro we love already, but just brought to the modern day. To get to go back through these shining lands and get more collectibles would be magnificent, and I feel like it could inspire a whole new generation of indie developers. There are people that are already so passionate about this little dude that they're actually making their own versions of it. They made an Unreal Engine 4 demo of Spyro the Dragon, just trying to freaking get people to actually pay attention to this. For its solid controls, beautiful environments, and frankly adorable little characters, I'm awarded this my pick as the #1 dead series that needs to be brought back. Did your favorite franchise not make the list? Got an idea for a future top 10? Leave it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. You know, I almost put the original Phantasy Star games on the list. The first games, Phantasy Star 1 through 4, are so interesting, and they're very different RPGs. But they just didn't quite make the cut. Still, these are fantastic. That's okay, I landed on a pill, I promise. It's totally fine. Oh, hey! I was just playing a little bit of Grand Theft Auto on my Darth Vader PSP. Are you curious what I'm going to come out with next? Well, if you click this button, you'll be subscribed to be the first to know. Also, if you click over here and here, you can see my latest review and my latest top 10. I promise, it was super good. Or it was really bad and I'm sure you can just make fun of me in the comments. Either way, it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks so much for watching.